we want to look at Nexus. What does Nexus do? Nexus is a platform for backing up artifacts and retrieving artifacts that have been backed up. Now, when we say artifacts, these are results of builds, right? When we have a build on Maven, for example, we want to be sure that these builds are stored in a safe place in case a disaster happens, right? Disaster could be in form of the server being down or the project being deleted. We still want to be sure that we can get these artifacts, right? And we can also have them in different versions stored up there in a remote repository. So Nexus is like a remote repository to Maven or any other build server. Are there other platforms that do this? Yes, there are. There's JFrog, and there's also AWS Code Artifacts. Now, why is Nexus so popular? Yeah, the only difference between Nexus and these other platforms, right, that makes it so popular is the fact that it is open source. It is an open source application. Now, let's see how we can start the whole exercise of having Nexus in the system. So the requirement for Nexus is 2 gig memory, right? So let's see what we can get on AWS. We want to launch an instance. I want to call this Nexus. Call this Nexus. I want to use a Red Hat server. To look at my options. Looking for 2 gig memory. So this should sell. It's too small. Alternatively, I could go for a T2 medium, right? Because it's for the platform is a storage platform. Okay. Going for 4 gig memory. I want to select an existing key pair. And for Nexus, I want to ensure that I have port 8081 open. That's the default port for Nexus, 8081. Okay. So I launch my instance. So to install this, I'll be using a script to complete the installation. It's going to be a switch case script. So let's do this. Let's start a new session. Switch case. EC2-user. Okay. So let me name this. Rename the tab. Let me call this Nexus. Okay. So now what I want to do is to install Nexus. I'm using a shell script. So let me veer into a file and call this file, let's call it install nexus.sh. Okay, I have this file, install nexus.sh. I want to go to the script to copy the file. Nexus. I to insert. I want to paste this. So let's quickly run through the script before we run it. So I want to, the first option, right, is a switch case, right? With $1, that's the first argument. So the first option we have here is manage. Manage will create a user called Nexus, grant sudo access to Nexus, and set up password authentication so that we'll be able to use password on this system. Then also transfer the file to /opt so that installation can proceed when we switch user. The second option is the install. We are going to be installing some apps to get us running, like the unzip, like wget, git, and vim. Okay. We'll also be installing Java 8, right? Java JDK 1.8, that's Java 8. Also be installing Nexus, right? Then we'll unzip it, then delete the zip file, then we'll name the directory, right? Then we can change some permissions and about that. So finally, we have launch, right? With launch, we'll be enabling Nexus, right? Then we can just start up Nexus, okay? So on to save this, escape, colon, WQ. Now I want to run this script, okay? I want to run this script in sh, right? Install _ nexus.sh. Now, it tells me that I need to specify either of these arguments, right? Manage, install, or launch, right? But we need to specify this in this order. So I want to specify manage, right? I'll specify manage. Okay, I'll specify manage. So when I run this, okay, it tells me whether I've put 8081 open. My answer is yes. Okay, I want to add a password to Nexus. Okay. So the manage part is all done. So user has been switched to Nexus. I'm now in the OPT directory. I want to install. All right, that's the next option. I want to install applications. So this is the application installation process. Okay. 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 The second option has been completed. So now we need to consider the third option, which is launch. We've managed, we've installed, now we want to launch. Okay. So launch. Okay. So all done. So right now we can go to Nexus and start it up. But before then, let's copy our IP address. Let's get our IP address. Call ifconfig.co. As our public IP address, right? We want to log into Nexus. So here we are. Let's come here and put port 8081. Okay, we are in Nexus. So the default username and ID and password for Nexus is admin and admin123 respectively. Okay, so the username is admin, the password admin, the password is admin123. 123. So this is the default, right? So we are in, right? It is important that passwords be changed, but for me, I'm not going to change the password for the purpose of this exercise, right? Okay, so this is where I am. I'm able to see the repositories, right? This is Maven public repository, right? This is Maven public repository. I'm able to see users, right? That's the default administrator, and there's the anonymous user, right? I'm able to see all sorts of things. Okay, so what we are trying to do now is that we are trying to back up what we have in Maven on this platform, on Nexus, okay? So that is our intention, to back up what we have on Maven on Nexus. So there are some things we need to do, okay? So now, to get this going, we need to complete what we call Maven-Nexus integration, right? We want to have some artifacts, right? In Maven, we want to have them in here. So what we want to do is that we want to go to Maven and see, let me see if I have any project. Yes. Oh, I don't have any project. Let's do a quick clone, right? I want to clone a project, git clone. I want to do a quick clone of a project, right? So this is an opportunity for us to go through Maven again, right? Do a quick clone. Let me look for a project I can clone. Okay, let's check here. Okay, let me look at this. Should be able to clone this project. This is a web application, right? Let's clone this project. Git clone, web application, right? So cloning completed. ls, let me cd into web app. Okay. ls. Now I see pom.xml and the source codes, right? So this is good. Now, what do I need to do, right? We are trying to configure Nexus, want to integrate Maven and Nexus such that whatever we do here in Maven, we can back it up in Nexus, okay? Now, there are two ways I want us to look at this. The first part of this whole process is that we'll have different projects, right? Different projects, and each of these projects will have their respective pom.xml file. That's the build script, right? Because this is a Java project. So each of these projects will have their respective pom.xml files, okay? So within the pom.xml file, we will do some modifications, right? And those modifications will relate to the particular project we are looking at, right? If you are looking at this project, we'll need to make some modifications relating to that project. But aside that, there are some modifications that need to be done that relate to like a global modification, right? So what we want to do first is to look at those global modifications that we need to make, right? We need to configure our password, right? So let's do that. Let's go to, let me just get pwd here so that I can come back here when we are ready to. Okay, so I want to cd into /opt, right? /nexus /opt, okay? ls, right? This is where the Maven home directory is, right? So I want to cd into Maven, ls. I want to look at this conf, right? This conf directory. What I'm looking for is a file called settings.xml. I want to make some modifications in that file. And these modifications will be global, right? Global to all the projects I'll be doing, not relating specifically just to this project, okay? So I want to go to conf, right? cd to conf, right? ls, this is the file I'm looking for, settings.xml, right? So I want to go into the file editor, that's settings, right? .xml. So I've got in here. So there are some things I need to do. I want to make some modifications, right? So I'm looking for two things, right? I'm looking for two things here. The first one I'm looking for is the server tag. I'm looking for the server tag. Okay, so I'm looking for the server tag. Server. Okay. Okay, this is where it all opens, right? For all servers. can see server. Okay. So this is what I want to copy, right? I'm right here now. I want to copy this, right? This server, I can see a 5-liner. I can see server opens here and closes here. I can see deployment repository, right? I want to be able to put Nexus here. I can see username. I want to be able to put admin here. I can see password. I want to be able to put admin123 here, right? That's for the server. So what I'll do is that I'll copy this and try to take it out of the part that is commented, right? But I still want to find myself within the server, right? See the server tags, right? See it opens here with comments and it goes all the way down and closes here, the comments, right? Closes here. So I want to find myself somewhere in between, right? I want to find myself somewhere after this closing and copy all those details that we have there, these good looking details, okay? So I want to do this, insert, oh, I didn't use sudo to get in here, so let me exit. I need to use sudo to get in there, sudo, because it's a root file. Okay, so I want to scroll down again to server. Okay, this is where we are. So I to insert. Okay, now I want to copy this, which I've done. Then I'll scroll down. I want to still find myself within the servers tag, but outside the comments, right? So I want to paste this in here and make some modifications. Okay, so the modification I want to make will include, I want to specify my deployment repository, which is going to be Nexus, because I'm trying to do an integration between Nexus and Maven, right? So I want to come here and say Nexus. I want to come here and specify my ID, my username, right, which is admin. I want to come down here to specify the password, which is admin123. Okay, so what else am I going to do? I'm going to look for the mirror tag. Okay, now I see the mirror tag. This is the mirror tag, right? I want to do, okay, this is the mirror tag. You can see it's commented right now, but I want to take it out of that area, just as we did for the other one, that's the server. I'll take this out of this place, right? I'll take this out of this place and bring it down, right? I've copied it. I want to bring it down to after this mirror, right? I want to bring it down here. I want to bring it down here. So I can do this. Okay. Can do this and paste this right here. And paste it right there. And paste it right there. And place this right there. Okay, so what do I want to do here? I want to make some modifications, right? I want to make some modifications to the, yeah. So now, when you say mirror ID, what I want to do here is that I want to ensure that all the dependencies, right, that relate to my Maven server, I can have them saved somewhere in the remote repository, right? So I'm looking at what will be sourcing from the central server I want to have them up there in the remote repository. So I'm looking at putting the contents, right, of my .m2 file, right, for safekeeping to avoid in case of disaster, right? So we can have them safe there, right? So I want to come here and change ID here to central, okay, central. I want to change repository ID. I want to I'll just put wildcard there. I'll put wildcard. That's here. Mirror off. I'll put wildcard because I just wanted to mirror everything, right? In the central repository. Then the name, I want to call the name mirror as well. Call the name mirror. I want to call the name central, right? Which is what the ID is also, right? I want to call it central because I want to pull from the central repository, okay? Now, to know the repository I'm going to have it stored in, right? I want to go back to Nexus. Let's go back to Nexus. Right here in Nexus, I want to come up here and browse. So I want it to come to Maven public, right? So I can come here and copy the path. Okay, I can copy the path, Control C, copy the path. Then I come in here to paste it. I want to paste the path here. But I want to ensure that I don't come in here to make modifications because for test servers, I know will have our servers being turned off every now and then. And when that happens, the public IP address changes, okay? So I want to be able to specify a private IP address here so that at any point in time, you'll have this running, okay? So I want to come here to AWS and copy the okay? That's the private IP address, right? That is for Nexus. We are trying to integrate Nexus with Maven. So we are Maven now, so we are getting the details as it relates to Nexus, okay? So I've copied the private IP address, then I want to paste it here, okay? So when I do this, I believe I'm done with all of this, so I can save this now, right? Central, okay? And that's the repository, okay? So I want to save this file. Now that I've saved this file, I want to go back to my pom.xml. Here is it, pom.xml. Okay, I have the present working directory here, the path, specified it, so I want cd into that. Okay, so we are in there, web-app, okay? See what we have there. So what the next thing I want to do, right? We've done a global configuration. We've set our password under server tag. We've set the public repository, right? Maven public, right? So that we can have all of these dependencies and plugins stored there for safekeeping, right? In case anything happens to our .m2 directory. Okay, so what we want to do is, now that we have our pom.xml here, we want to vim into it. Pom.xml. Want to vim into the pom.xml. Now, we need to make some changes here, okay? Now, I want you to take note of something. What we have here, we have snapshots, right? In caps, snapshots, right? So we scroll down to distribution management. Okay, now we are here now in distribution management. Okay, we can scroll down to distribution management and we are here now. So how do we effect backups? Now, backup will be per project, right? We've done the global configuration. Now we need to do configuration per project. Now, which project are we looking at now? We are looking at this web application. So this is web application project we are looking at. So to complete the backup, what are we going to do? Right? We will need to go back to Nexus, right? We want to have backups for 1, releases, and 2, snapshots, okay? And don't forget what I called your attention to earlier. There's a snapshot up there. Let's see what happens with the snapshot that we have there. Okay, so what are we going to do? We are going to go to Nexus, okay? Going to Nexus. Nexus, okay, here we are. Now, we are in Nexus. We want to be able to create new repositories, right? We want to create new repositories. The first one is going to be for the snapshots and the other one for the releases. So for good naming convention, you want to specify the project, then state dash, then state whether it's snapshots or releases, okay? So we want to start with creating a snapshot, okay? We want to check Maven-2 hosted, okay? Here we are. So we want to specify the name of the project. Let's say the name of the project is TechDom or tutorial. Say tutorial. That's the name of the project, right? Tutorial. Okay. Then good naming convention. We want to say tutorial. This one is snapshot. Snapshot. Okay. Tutorial dash snapshot. Then we come here to check the version, right? Look at the version, look at the options we have. There's release, there's snapshot. So we want to select snapshot. So once I do that, I want to just click on save. So I click on save. Okay, so that is that. So the second thing I want to do, I want to create another repository and call that, tutorial dash releases. Tutorial dash releases. Okay, so I can come here, I select release, right? I can select release here. Okay, I can select release. So I come here, I create repository. Create repository. Okay, now that I've done this, what next, right? Remember, I have the pump.xml open over there, right? And I'm under the distribution management tag that starts from here and ends here. Now, if you look at the distribution management tab, you see that there's a particular one that says snapshot repository, right? While the other one is just bland, just repository, right? So the one that is snapshot repository is the one that relates to this snapshot, right? That we just created now. Whereas the other one relates to releases. Okay, the one that has snapshot relates to snapshot, whereas the other one relates to releases. So now let's go and copy our snapshot, link to our snapshot. So we are back here. So come here, tutorial snapshot. We want to come here and copy, Control C. Okay, now that we've copied, we want to go back in here to make modifications, right? So we want to take out what we have here by default and take this out. Insert, I to insert. I want to make modification. Okay. So I also want to come in here to make a modification. I want to change this to private IP address. Okay, so what's the private IP address we got earlier? Let's go to, okay, these are private IP address for Nexus, right? We are trying to integrate with Nexus. So everything we are getting, right, and putting into Maven, they will relate to Nexus. Okay, so I want to copy that and put there to replace what we have here. So that's the port number. I want to leave that and just stop at 5. Okay, so by the time I paste this, I have the private IP address. Okay, so I want to go up here as well and take this out so that I can bring the link to the releases here. The link to the releases. Okay, so I'll bring it in here. So I'll go back to repository. I want to close this and pick that relates to releases. Okay, so come in here, Control C, copy. Then I go to mobile XTEM to fill in the details here. Then I want to also go back to change the public IP address to private. And the reason is I want to be able to, I don't want to come in here to make modifications. If for any reason I stop and start the server, I will start the server and the public IP address changes. So that's why I'm doing this. Okay. I want to take releases, right? So releases, I copy. So Control C, copy releases, come in here to put it here. Okay, that's releases. Oh, I already copied or what? Okay, releases. So let me just take this out. In total, okay. Just take this out. Take this out, okay. Copy it twice. Okay, I had something here before. So copy releases. So this is what I have copied, and I want to make sure that it opens with URL, right? Less than, URL greater than, and ends in less than / URL greater than. So it means we are fine. So this is what I copied now. So I want to be able to put in the private IP address here as well for consistency. So I'll take this out. Oh, this is double here. HTTP / I want to take that out. It's double. Okay. You can see, you can compare to this line. You can see they are similar, right? All true, except that I need to take out the public IP address and put in the private. Okay. So I want to copy the private IP address from here. So now that we've copied it, come in here and paste it. Okay, so you can see this line and this line are similar, right? They are similar with everything. The only difference is this identifier, the snapshot, the releases, right? So when having our naming done, we should ensure we don't just put tutorial, right? Because we'll get confused at this point. So right now we have snapshots and we have releases because that's the only thing differentiating the two lines, right? So now that we've established this, I want us to go up here and take note of something, right? Remember, version here, you're looking at snapshots, right? Just remember this, snapshots. So I'll save this. Now that I've saved it, I want to ensure I do my backup. So to do my backup, I want to run the mvn deploy command. Once I do the mvn deploy command, run the mvn deploy command, realize something. Okay, so let's see, right? Mvn deploy. Okay, let's see what happens. So build success, okay? Mvn deploy, okay? So we'll come here and see what has happened. You can see uploading to Nexus, uploaded to Nexus. You can see all the good things that happened, right? So we want to come to Nexus and check out some things, okay? So let's refresh this. So let's come here and check something, okay? I want to come here and look for, let's come here because that's the settings area. We need to come here to browse, okay? So we click on snapshots and we'll see what we get. So let's look at it again. We won't come in through here, rather we'll come in through this cube up here, okay? Click on that, click on browse, then click on snapshots, and what do we see? We see snapshots. Remember, earlier we talked about something, right? Within the pom.xml file, I was calling your attention to something. I was calling your attention to this version, right? You can see. Why did we not get, okay, you see, snapshot, this is what we have now. So now, I want to do something, then we need to ask ourselves a question. Okay, so we are out here, okay, let's browse. Let's check releases, okay? Do we see anything in releases? No. So why don't we have anything in releases? When we're doing the setup of the pom.xml file, I called your attention to version. You see, in capital letter, it should be in capital letter, snapshots in capital letters, uppercase, right, was indicated there. So what it means is that at any point in time, when we run the mvn deploy, and that is set as what it is, right? It means that it will be going to snapshots. It will be picking snapshots, okay? It will be picking snapshots. Now, let's look at something. Let's try to run the mvn deploy command again. Okay, now, let's come here and change this, right, to see what will happen. If we come in here and make a modification, let's see whether it changes anything. And let's call this release, right? Let's call this release, okay? Let's call this release. Okay, release. So I want to save this file, WQ, right? Let's see what happens. let's run our mvn deploy command again. But before then, let's do a clean, right? Because, okay, let's see something. ls, right? You see, when you run the mvn deploy command, some things happen, right? Validation is done, right? Compilation is done. Testing is done. Then package is delivered, right? So all those 4 things that happen when we run mvn package will happen. Then after that, there'll be mvn install before the deployment, which will now transfer artifacts from Maven to the remote repository called Nexus. Okay, so you can see target was created. So we want to do a deployment again. So this time around, you need to clean up first, right? You can do mvn clean. Then afterwards, we run mvn deploy. But we could also choose to do them simultaneously. Deploy, clean and deploy, right? So we've done a clean and a deploy on a single command line. Okay, with a single command. Okay, now let's see what happens. Let's go back to Nexus and do a refresh. There's something I will also need to call our attention to, but let's do this first. Okay, so we come in here. Let's check Snapshot and see whether we have any other thing. You can see it's just version 1 alone we have here, right? So if we come here, let's see releases. Let's see what we have. You see, we now have something for release because we've set it up as that. So that part is very important. If you do not set it as release, it doesn't pick release, right? So if you set up as snapshot, but make sure the snapshot is in capital letters, then it will come as snapshot. So this is this on this, right? So let's look at something else. Let's just look at the other directories. Let's check here. You see, classwords, right? See, so this is what we have been able to achieve. We've been able to install Nexus, and we've been able to back up our files. Then we've done a global configuration on the settings.xml file, and we've also done the set configuration of the pom.xml file with details, with attention paid to the version tag up there. So we could select whether it's going to be a release or a snapshot. Thank you very much for your time. We'll meet in the next session.